welcome to Investment Banking Insights. This is the only show dedicated to helping you learn both the technical and the non-technical aspects of the investment banking process. Hello, my name is Alex Mason and I am your host. And today we're talking about accounting fundamentals. I want to talk to you today about the basic concepts of depreciation and amortization. Now, what is this? Fundamentally, depreciation accounts for the fact that assets lose their value over time. So let's go ahead and go through a very quick example. So let's say that you buy a car. And let's say that you pay $100 for this car and it's fresh off the lot. It's a beautiful car. Now, at year zero, it's worth $100. But as time goes on, this car is going to become less and less valuable. Maybe in year one, it's worth $90. It doesn't depreciate that much. Maybe it's a really good model. Then maybe it depreciates to $80, $70 in year three until all the way maybe in year 15, it's worth like $10 or so. So depreciation is just this concept that says that over time, assets become less valuable. And this is a very real thing. And so depreciation is simply an accounting concept that we use and incorporate within the financial statements so that we can make sure we're properly accounting for the value of assets changing over time, going down over time. Now, how much depreciation gets taken off of the value of an asset and how quickly you depreciate something, that's kind of a trickier thing. But in terms of investment banking interview preparation, you'll usually see questions that are straight line depreciation, which just means that you are taking the same value off of the asset over every period of time. So $100 to $90 to $80 to $70, that kind of a thing. You usually won't see something more advanced, at least I haven't in my experience, but that's the basic concept of depreciation. Now, in terms of amortization, amortization is just the spreading out of costs over time. So that is like a related concept, but effectively usually talk about amortization more when you're talking about intangible assets. So remember that there's different types of assets here. So remember our balance sheet. There's assets and liabilities, and you have your equity. But for the sake of this discussion, let's just talk about assets. So you can have different types of assets in terms of their time horizon. We talked about current assets and non-current assets, but there's also different types of assets if you look at them from the lens of something being physical or non-physical. So let's say that a company owns a car as part of its business. This is a physical asset. And then let's say that they also have a really powerful brand name within their industry. That's intellectual property. So even though you and I can't see or touch that, it's something that has value and it's something that can be recorded on the financial statements. So maybe there's certain trademarks or other intellectual property that the business has. I'm just going to put intellectual property here. So this is intangible. So when we depreciate something, we are typically depreciating a physical type of asset. If we are accounting for the cost over time of an intangible asset, we do something called amortization. So depreciation, and this is amortization. Now, the way that we account for amortization, it's usually not as straightforward as just taking a percentage of the value and cutting it out over time. Intangible assets are quote unquote tested for impairment, usually on a yearly basis. And that just means that we're going to look at the value of what this is on a yearly basis and ask ourselves the question, is it still worth that much? Or do we need to write down the value to something more reasonable? And so that's a little bit different than something like depreciation, where a physical thing is going to very naturally wear out over time, depending on how much it's being used. So those are those simple concepts of depreciation and amortization that I remember when I started studying this stuff, it was a little bit confusing to me. But effectively, what you're doing is you're looking at the value of assets over time and how they change. So those are the principles of depreciation and amortization. So that's all I got for today. I'll see you on the next one, where we're going to apply this concept of depreciation to a real interview question. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.